they hit him when they fired.
In broad daylight on Dade County's crowded Palmetto Expressway, a suspected drug dealer has just been shot by machine gun-wielding assassins. The victim's car careened across the highway, causing several accidents.
This looks like one of those scenes you might see in Vietnam somewhere, you know.
The victim was Cuban. Police believe the assassins are Cubans working for a Bolivian drug dealer. Authorities say we can expect to see more of this now as other nationalities begin to chase after the billions of drug dollars fueling the brutal Colombian drug war. In other words, the violence is spreading.
I think what you're going to see in the next 5 years or more is you're going to see South Florida not only the base for drug distribution and cocaine distribution for the Colombians, you're going to see it for every South American country who has the capability of either manufacturing cocaine or the cocoa paste.
The Colombian drug war has brought machine gun shootouts to highways, to shopping centers, to crowded restaurants. A 2-year-old boy was murdered in a hail of machine gun bullets. 6 Colombians were killed in one house, most of them strangled. Police say it could happen to anyone.
You're going to walk in, you're going to be sitting there with your family eating, and some guy's going to come in and they're going to start machine gunning the place because they want to get to somebody that you're sitting next to.
It is no longer a situation where the rest of the country can shake its finger at South Florida. In New York, a Colombian family of 4 was murdered in a car. The violence is also being seen in drug ports of entry from New Orleans to Los Angeles.
In the back hills of Tennessee, North Carolina, and northern Georgia, people that have had run stills back there, their families did many years ago, they're being paid by Latins to grow marijuana back in those hills, run labs in those hills, and a lot of it is inaccessible. You can't get back there.
We know the problem, so where do we go from here? By all estimates, the current resources, methods, and laws are ineffective against the foreign assassins and traffickers.
We're dealing with crimes which have international repercussions and for which the men that work at a local police department in the United States are not trained to deal.
The top people, most of the people responsible, we never get.
Pretty hard to get caught in the U.S. It's very hard to get caught. Nobody works together in the U.S. Everybody's separate. Drug Enforcement Administration works on one end, Customs on another, military on another. Nobody gives anybody information.
Authorities believe the fight must include beefed-up efforts in Colombia, where the traffickers supply the United States with most of its marijuana, cocaine, and bootleg quaaludes.
We need to get the State Department active in letting every country know where drugs are coming from, that we're going to assess our relationship with them based on what they're doing to clean up those drugs.
The controversy is over what to do. The U.S. wants to supply Colombia the weed killer paraquat to be used on the marijuana fields. Colombia wants to know why we don't test it on the extensive U.S. marijuana crops first. Colombia, meantime, is asking for a lot more money to buy helicopters and other technology and to supply alternate crops to the farmers growing marijuana and coca plants. But the United States is cutting back its aid money. Most American law enforcers say they are worried about corruption in Colombia and are waiting to see if this year's Colombian presidential election brings another leader committed to fight the drug problem.
The Colombians look upon the United States as the real problem, and historically, the United States has looked upon the Colombians as the real problem. Consequently, both countries end up sticking their head in the sand.
American authorities say whatever is done, the drugs have got to be stopped before they reach the U.S. shoreline.
1 kilo of cocaine at 90% purity coming into the country becomes thousands upon thousands of grams at 10% purity on the street being distributed by hundreds of violators.
As for marijuana, the Colombians say their police might be able to stop it. But as for cocaine, the South American supply countries have no real answers. There are just too many coca fields, too much money, and too many traffickers who, ironically, are using paraquat to kill the weeds between the coca plants.
The problem for those supporting coca eradication, beside the fact there is a huge demand for cocaine, is that coca leaves have been growing here in South America for thousands of years. They've become part of the culture. In fact, long before Christ, the Indians were chewing coca leaves to help them alleviate their feelings of hunger and pain and to give them strength. They even had a god of coca.
So answers must be found in the United States, where millions of Americans use the illicit drugs.
If the American public would stop putting it up their nose, the Colombians would stop shipping it to us. but the American public thinks it's neat.
We start in kindergarten talking about how we don't ever take any medication or anything else except that.
Some say the answer lies in educating the public, especially the children, to the dangers of drugs and their link to violence. But others say it will take too long. Their solution calls for tougher laws, stiffer jail sentences, denial of bail to foreign traffickers, an extradition treaty with Colombia, more involvement of the military, also more cooperative police efforts. An example of that is called Syntac 26, an effort by local police and DEA agents in Miami, New York, and Bogota to stop the violent traffickers. Their biggest catch so far is Rafael Leon Rodriguez, known as Amilcar. He is an alleged cocaine distributor for 5 Colombian families. Amilcar is charged with a double murder in Dade County, is suspected of several more, and is accused of trying to kill police on 2 occasions. The Syntac agencies are pooling resources and computer data in the hopes they will also find this man, Winston Salaverria, allegedly Amilcar's former partner, now his mortal enemy. Syntac is also hoping to untangle the drug organizations of Griselda Blanco and Paco Sepulveda, both fugitives suspected in murders. And the group is looking for Antonio Ramirez Puerta, a man nicknamed Pinello, whom police would like to talk to about several murders, including the killings at Dadeland Mall. Police believe all of these people are in and out of Miami regularly, sometimes hiding behind wigs and plastic surgery. Another law enforcement approach involves greater cooperation between American and Colombian authorities. An example is Operation Tiburon, which led to the seizure of 6.5 million pounds of marijuana by the Coast Guard and Colombian police. Others say the best approach is to attack the drug money. One such effort, called Operation Greenback, has led to the seizure of nearly $30 million. Only the tip of the iceberg, but a start against the $7 billion illegal drug industry.
You can take a large corporation, take the top executive away, the financial structure is still there. You take the financial structure away from a legitimate or legal organization, it crumbles. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, is bring pressure to bear on the financial side of these narcotics organizations.
The problem has grown to the level where President Reagan has appointed a task force to solve South Florida's problems, which include narcotics. Local authorities are hopeful but cautious, however. They have been through a lot of task forces that didn't do anything.
People in Washington, in the wintertime, they want to come to Miami because it's a nice weather and bring a crew down here and study the drug problem. And once the cold weather's over, it kind of fades away.
It's a national crisis and a national disgrace that we're not meeting this major problem. If there's one problem that could topple this country, it's a narcotics problem from within.
And you think the Reagan administration has not effectively addressed the problem, even with this announcement?
I believe they have not.
We have to start taking the war on drugs very seriously. If we don't, we're going to have something like a domestic Vietnam. We're either going to fight the war and win it, or we're just going to give up.
Police say the bottom line is this: their efforts to solve the drug violence problem will fail unless there is help from the average citizen. Police say they are amazed there has not been a widespread public outcry, and they wonder what it will take.
They're going to wait until some senator's daughter or some congressman's nephew gets kidnapped because they think that he had something to do with passing some law that is not beneficial to them, and then what are we going to do? Then everyone's going to say, wait a minute, we have a problem. We've been screaming that we've been having a problem now for, I don't know, for at least, I know this agency alone, for at least 2 years.
I'm just another citizen in this town just like everybody else. I put my pants on the same way everybody else does. And I can't walk on water, and I don't have a big S on my T-shirt. And unless the people out there that want this to stop are willing to take the steps to stop it, that is, stop buying cocaine, stop accepting cocaine money into your banks, into your real estate agencies, and into your car agencies, then I suggest that they put burglar alarms on the front door, buy Rottweilers for their backyard, send their children to private schools, and buy a flak vest, because it ain't going to get better. It's only going to get worse.
Mark Potter, Newswatch 10.